Welcome to the start of another reading vlog. It has been a few weeks since I have done this because I had a few other different kinds of videos that I was doing. I'm excited about it. I missed it. I missed updating on the books as I was reading them, but I'm really excited about the ones that are upcoming. Now that being said, I do have my TBR, my February TBR, and I have all those books set up on a shelf, but I really have no preference in the order that I read them. And I've kind of waffled back and forth this first week in what I was going to pick up. So I'm going to show some books that I will probably read this week, but also I might change my mind and choose something else. Now, this one I am going to read. So the other book, so this is just the dust jacket. The actual book is over by where I read. So I'm getting to Permission to Feel. And the reason I picked this up is because I couldn't decide what to read. And so I asked my mom, it's like, hey, pick a number between 1 and 17, which is the number of physical books that I had. And she said 2, and this one was it. So I'm reading this. I don't think this will be one that I read in big chunks at a time. I think this will be one that I have to work my way through. So I don't know if I will finish this book, this vlog, but I'm definitely going to be getting into it. On audiobook, I'm listening to another nonfiction, and that is How to Hide an Empire. I'm really enjoying it so far. I just started it last night, so I'm about an hour or so into it. I think it's going to be great. If I finish that, hopefully I'll finish that in this vlog. I'm going to pick up book 5, Harry Potter, Order of the Phoenix, which is my favorite book. And physically, I have a few nonfictions that I'm hoping to get to. First of which is They Went Left. This is my choice for the February Buzz Readathon challenge. And it's also one of the books that I picked up at Barnes & Noble when we were at the beach for Christmas. I'm really excited. I love Monica Hesse's other book, the other one that I've written. I think she's written 3. I'm probably wrong about that, but I absolutely love that one, and I've read it in English and Spanish, The Girl in the Blue Coat. So I'm really excited about this one. Then I will probably, hopefully, pick up the arc of The Lucky Ones. This is one of my favorite arcs so far. I mean, I've gotten 2, but this one just looks really appealing to me. So we shall see. These are both historical fiction. This one I believe is middle grades. They Went Left is young adult. Then we have The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place, The Mysterious Howling. This is the first in a series, so I'll be seeing if this is a series that I want to pick up. This is to fill a prompt on one of my reading challenges, but I forget what the prompt is. It's short, so this is a short month, so I'm trying to get through books quickly. And then lastly, I'm going to attempt getting through the Magnus Chase series. This is where I had read all of Rick Riordan's stuff, was automatically picking it up, picked up the first book in the Magnus Chase series and went, not really a fan, and didn't pick up another Rick Riordan book until Daughter of the Deep, last week. So, or 2 weeks ago, and by the time we see this. So we shall see what I think of this. I will probably have to go on and refresh my memory in the first one. So that is my tentative plan for this vlog. It's a full week, another full week. We had a really long week at school last week. Just one of those work weeks that feels like it's never going to end. This week, I do have Friday off because I'm a peer evaluator for second year teachers going through, professional certificate evaluations. It's complicated, but anyway. So I have the day off from my school, but I go over to another school and I observe, and I'm on the team for 2 teachers. So I have that in the morning, but hopefully I won't procrastinate and I have to write up all the observations. So I don't know how much reading I'll get done this week. I hope for more than the week before, but we have another short week the week after, so I'm looking forward to that. So I'm about to hop on the treadmill and go for my run later than I wanted to start, but what a day at school. So yeah, long story, lots of information I can't actually share, but let's just say that there was something in the water with all of our lovely children. Anyway, I want to update on stuff I've been reading. So I haven't read anything physically since I started the vlog. I am really into the audiobook, so instead of ending that before I go to bed and picking up a physical book, I just listened until I went to bed. And so the audiobook I'm reading again is How to Hide an Empire. I find it absolutely fascinating. A lot of the information is not new for me. So I've studied a lot of history. I've read a lot about this. I remember teaching the section on imperialism to my students last year and talking about the American involvement in that. But one of the things that Daniel Immerwahr brings to the forefront is the idea of territories and how the United States, only for a brief period of time, was something you could consider like a union of states, which is what we're supposed to be. And that territories started getting added first, but territories don't really fit with the idea of a union of states, and just bringing in thoughts on what they were doing with the people that were already living there. And so it brought in the whole deal with the Cherokees. That is I wish he had gone deeper into that, but I understand why he didn't, because that's not the theme. That's just something that I happened to have written a paper on for a class in grad school when I was taking constitutional history. That's the Supreme Court case that I chose. And with that, he talks about the movement of all of these tribes out to Indian country, and how that Indian country got whittled down and down and down and down and down. And when they requested statehood, they didn't give it to them. He puts in actual quotes from the writings of these men who are in office, and they're abhorrent. They're absolutely abhorrent. But he's pulling these quotes in, and they're just speaking so negatively about these people and how they wanted to be able to have representation. And then he also talked about how the US started to acquire all of these uninhabited islands. And the reason was for the guano and for the fertilizer. And I have read a book about that, studied that before, and how it was the whole profit and not rotating crops, and they needed nitrogen back in, and then it leading to so the empire, the US empire, is expanding because they don't want to have to trade with or try to get into the trade bond between Peru and the UK, who was really powerful at that time. And so they start getting these little islands here and there just for the guano, for the bird poop. Then he starts to go off in a direction that I wasn't sure how it connected. So there was research going into how to make this nitrate to put back into the soil without having to use the guano, because it was so horrible to try to harvest it and bring it back. And the man who ended up doing it, I knew this. So what he invented was Zyklon A. And if you know anything about history, you know what Zyklon B ended up doing. And so he did talk about that. And he talked about the tragedy with this man and his wife who took her own life, and the fact that both he and his wife were Jewish. It made sense when he mentioned that the wife's cousin was his grandfather. So there was that connection there. But also when you think about how this drive for empire, and then to find a solution for that, leads to one of the most horrible things in history. So I'm really enjoying it, and how Daniel Immerwahr is presenting this history and putting together these things. And so you can take history and you can look at it in these different ways, put different things together and compare them. And obviously, since I've talked so much about history in this one little clip, yeah, I definitely am enjoying this book. So now I need to stop procrastinating and I need to go do my run. So I just got home. It's Tuesday. And, well, I got home for the second time-ish because I ran at school and was going to pick up some milk and chocolate milk because I needed milk for my breakfast and chocolate milk for my coffee. And so I stopped at the grocery store on the way home, as you can see over here. Got home and realized I went for the milk and chocolate milk and came out with grapes, oatmeal raisin cookies, chips, and Diet Dr. Pepper. No milk of any kind. Yeah, so great job. So for coffee tonight, so I can use the chocolate milk that I have, got myself some Starbucks. As far as reading updates, I haven't picked up any physical books because I'm just absolutely loving, and I know I say that phrase so much, but I'm really enjoying How to Hide an Empire. I've already decided I'm gonna get the physical copy. I really love his writing style. I really love the reframing of history, and last night while I was listening, there was a comment. It's just this dry, wry sense of humor that you can get with history sometimes. It's just this one line literally made me snort. It was hilarious, and I can't remember it exactly, so I'm not gonna try to say it here. But probably we'll continue with the audiobook because I'm just loving it so much. I may or may not get myself to stop and pick up a physical book at the end of the evening, but my ambitious TBR for this week might just come down to the weekend. So just got back from faculty meeting. I am going to hop on the treadmill for a mile in just a moment. So it seems like my new update time is right before my runs. Wanted to give a quick reading update. I'm still really enjoying How to Hide an Empire, but I actually did pick up Permission to Feel, and I literally kept reading this. You see these tabs already? I'm like 12, 14 pages in, and I keep finding things. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. So I'm super excited about this book. I know it's gonna be a good one. I'm probably gonna spend more than this vlog reading this book, but I am enjoying this. I may go pick one of my fiction books because right now I'm reading 2 nonfiction, audio. Don't know why I pointed back there. Audio and this one right here. So it's Wednesday, haven't finished anything yet, but we'll see. So I realized when I got another package, which I'll show you in a second, that in the clip for today, I meant to do a little mini haul. I have been spending some money on things like half marathons and not books, so I don't have a ton. My 2 favorite books of the year, obviously I had to purchase. I got them through bookshop.org. I got How the Word Is Passed. I got my mom reading this. She is on a trip to Israel. Lucky. So she wanted an audiobook to read. I'm like, hey, here's my Libro FM account. Listen to this book. She loves it already. And then I also got Firekeeper's Daughter, the cover. I mean, I've seen the pictures, but in person, so stunning. Now, my corner did get a little crunched, but that's okay. And then the package that I got today, you know, all over the internet, life, etc. So, I think it was last week or the week before that there was that school board in Tennessee that banned the graphic novel Mouse. And I had had it on my list for a while, and I decided I need to own it, for obvious reasons. And so I have the full bind up of all 3 volumes, and this is a sort of a memoir type thing where Art Spiegelman tells the story of his father. He makes all of the Nazis cats and the Jews mice, and so he tells the story in here, and it's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and that school board decided to ban it because, like, there's a nude mouse and it showed like the horrors of the Holocaust. Now I own it, and I might just throw off the rest of my, not the rest, but some of my TBR, like I mentioned, read this. So I just finished my run. Apparently all of my updates are going to be before or after runs, but I just finished my run. I'm going to go hop in the shower and get cleaned up, but I wanted to do a quick update. I did indeed start Mouse. I read it for only about 10-15 minutes before I went to my audiobook and cross-stitching, and I got 40 pages in, so this will be a quick read. I'm already really seeing the power of this book and how Art Spiegelman chose to tell the story. So I have to say that when his dad was talking about this run-in, this finding out that his wife, his fiance then, was doing some messaging for communists in Poland at the time, the way he handled that and his aversion to it was off-putting to me, like made him seem like not a likable character, but I had to remind myself that this is not a character in a book. This is his, you know, based on his stories of his dad and then, you know, of the time, how he grew up. I am really enjoying this. It's not my favorite art style, but it really works for what it is. And I haven't even gotten into some of the really powerful stuff, but I'm enjoying this. So for the audiobook, I have a little over an hour to finish. The book itself, How to Hide an Empire, I still really like it. It's getting to the point in the book where he talked about the development of the empire and now the dissolution or changing nature of America's power as an empire. And that's not necessarily my favorite part of history. He's still doing a really good job and I'm enjoying it. Still definitely going to purchase that, but I'll finish that tonight. I'll probably get close to finishing Mouse tonight as well. When I get back from those observations that I have to make of other teachers, I will finish Mouse for sure. That'll be my, not cleansing my palette because it's not exactly light fare, but it'll help me switch work mode, break, and then back into work mode, hopefully to get those observations done. So what I mentioned of my plan yesterday for reading and then maybe being productive again? Yeah, no. I kind of threw that out the window and decided to just keep reading. So I finished Mouse. This morning, I didn't have to leave as early because my first observation didn't start until 10. And so I decided I'm going to get some reading in. And I'm like, how many pages can I get read before I have to leave? And then kept looking and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to look and see how long it would take to get to this other school and was rushing out the door. I made it in plenty of time. That's how much I was into this. After I finished, so I forgot that because this school is close to the local running trail, that I would do my run out there. So I got back here a little later than I planned. I didn't start this until around 3 and then was like, I'm gonna finish it and I'm gonna make this my reading afternoon. And I can't say that, oh wow, this is an amazing, awesome book. But this is a book that everyone needs to read. I also can't say that I enjoyed it because enjoy usually has positive connotations. That's not why you read every book. Some books you need to read and you have a fairly pleasant experience. Not pleasant. I'm still saying the wrong words, but you have a learning experience. It's not terrible. It's so hard to express, but that was this book for me. And I think what Art Spiegelman did here is he gave a sense of humanity and some unlikability both to his father, which I mentioned before, and to himself. Just because someone went through this experience doesn't make them a saint. Every experience like this is going to affect people in different ways. He shows in this book how it affects him, his father, excuse me, how it affects his father, and then how it affects him as the second generation. And there's one part where he talks about playing like a competition with his dead brother because his father and mother had a child that didn't survive. And they kept a snapshot of him in their bedroom, but they didn't keep any snapshots of Art. And I found that very interesting. And it's also something that you think about, like with the Indian boarding schools, how a lot of those children who went back to their homes, they were robbed of their culture, they were robbed of learning how to be a decent human being to others, how to raise children because of the horrific ways that they were raised and how they took that out on their own children and the trauma that goes through the different generations. In Firekeeper's Daughter, Angeline Boulley talks about that with Donis's friend, how the trauma inflicted on her friend's grandmother affected how her friend's mother parented her. This book needs to be read. This book, I definitely wouldn't put it in a middle grade classroom. I think this is an excellent book for high school age, to be used in, say, a history classroom, especially since this is a comic, but it's nonfiction. I think, and there's veracity in what his father is telling him and how he records it, and the back and forth between the story of going through the experiences before the war and during the war, which was a very small portion, and then flashing back to when his father's telling the story. And even this one part where it's after his father has died and he's published the first part of this book. Now, I have the bind up. In a previous portion, I said it was a bind up of all three, but there's only two. So I misspoke there, but it is a bind up. But he has a portion in here where he's dealing with everything that's coming at him and the fact that he's just gotten to the point where he has to illustrate, he has to talk about Auschwitz. So that's a very small portion of the book, but the whole trauma is so much wider. I'm definitely very grateful. I think gratefulness is a good word to describe my reading experience. I don't know that I'll talk more about it, but I'll probably talk about different details in the wrap-up. Since I have thrown out my other work plans for the day, I'll do those observations tomorrow. Well, not the observations, the reports from them. I decided to pick up another book, and since I'm already in sort of this mood, I'm going to pick up They Went Left by Monica Hess. It's on my TBR for this reading blog, so maybe I will actually get a book finished that is on my TBR. And that reminded me, I did finish How to Hide an Empire by Daniel Immerwahr. 5 stars. Compiled it and everything. I think it would take second place under How the Word Is Passed. But both of those books, they do the comparison. You can draw out, and I talked about this in my Goodreads review, you can draw out different things when you look at the connections that you can make between different aspects of history and how you frame it, how you look at it. It's like, I'm thinking of some sort of, at the doctor's office, the eye doctor's office, the machine where they're testing to see how well your eyes can see, and they have those different little lenses that they can flick and put in front of your eyes. And so that affects how you see those letters that you have to read. And I think that that's the aspect of history that I love. And it was talked about in both of these historical works that I've read so far. And I think the reason that I have so much appreciated, that's another word for mouse, have appreciated these works is because that's where I am more inclined. Definitely a good reading day, unexpectedly. So I don't think I'll finish this one today, but I'll get pretty far. And tomorrow I've got a long run on deck and hopefully one of the reports from the observations to write, but I will try to also finish the book tomorrow. I started, wow, this is all over the place, but I also started on audiobook Crying in H Mart. And that is a much shorter one than How to Hide an Empire. So I will likely also be able to finish that one in this vlog. So I just finished my second book this morning. It's only 9. I decided when I first got up to go ahead and listen to the rest of Crying in H Mart. I will have to say that book, not necessarily the book for me. I've noticed that a lot of these memoirs or different things that I read in that type, they tend to talk about really tough issues, and obviously in her and H Mark, that's no different. She's chronicling being with her mom the few months where her mom's dying. Good book, decently written. I just never connected with the main character. I haven't compiled it yet, so I don't know what my rating is going to be. And then I read the rest of, I mean, you can't tell because it's just black, but They Went Left by Monica Hess. She has now become an autobi author for me. I read way more of that this morning because I'd read only about 70 pages, 80 pages yesterday. Literally, it's like she stabbed me in my heart. So it's dealing with the trauma inflicted by the time in the camps, but it doesn't really talk about those. Sophia is trying to find her brother, and she's dealing with memory issues, things that she's blocked out. And the last 50 pages of the book, gut punch after gut punch. It ended with hope, but not, not the perfect things that you wanted for Sophia and for Abik, her brother, the whole book. I think that the thing she does in these books is she tells these Missy stories. She tells the stories where you're able to empathize with the characters who are not perfect at all, and how they are dealing with it and moving on. I struggle to put it into words. And because with a lot of these stories, when you're dealing with the survivors after the war, you want them to be able to find their family members, at least one. You want them to find love, to find a happily ever after. Life doesn't work that way. She writes this book in a way that is true to life without being super depressing, with giving hope at the same time. And I can't really give any more details because that would give away things in the book that you really need to experience by reading it. So now I'm going to eat some breakfast and then go for my run, and I guess that means I have to read those reports for my observations. Okay, so I'm here to wrap out this week's reading vlog. It is still Saturday. I've decided to end the vlog today. Of the overly ambitious TBR that I had, I did finish How to Hide an Empire. I read They Went Left. I did not get to the Incorrigible Children of Ashton Woods, or whatever that one was. I did not get to Krakatoa. I did not get to the Magnus Chase book. So I did not get to 3 out of the 5, but I did finish 4 books this week, including the 2 audiobooks, How to Hide an Empire and Crying in H Mark, and 2, I keep saying H Mark, H Mart, and 2 physical books, Mouse and They Went Left. I did start Permission to Feel. That's definitely not going to be one that I read it at big chunks. I think I might just make that more of a daily read, more of one where I'm reading for like say 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of that a day going forward. So I keep being amazed at some of the books, some of the amazing books that I'm finding. And I remember looking at my story graph because I update that every day with my reading progress because I just like seeing the chart of how many pages I've read per day. I looked at February, and most of the books that I have read in February so far have been 5 stars. Not just 4 stars, but 5 stars. My average rating for this month is almost 4.5 stars, and that never happens for me. 2022 is being really good to me in reading terms. I lost track of the thread of that sentence, but I really look forward to next week in terms of reading. I am going to try to get a whole bunch of the physical books for my February TBR read and finished, because I haven't been reading any of my e-arcs from NetGalley because my mom, who is currently on a trip to Israel, I wish I could have gone, has my Kindle. and those are delivered to Kindle, so I can't read them while she has my Kindle, but she's getting back next week. So thanks so much for joining me in this week's reading vlog. I would love to know what you think about these different books that I've read, these different experiences that I've had. I just would love to chat with you in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.